You're probably tuning in today because you want to learn how to be rich. And that's what we're talking about today. Now, if you've ever wanted to move from a feeling of being limited to a feeling of being limitless, this program is for you. But I've got a question for you. Do you think that you're going to achieve these new breakthroughs by doing the same thing you've always done, the same thing everyone else has always done? No, of course not. You have to break through, and that means doing things differently. So in this program, I'm going to teach you how to do that. We're going to talk about stories of risk done right. Now, there's a right way and there's a wrong way to do risk. So I want to make sure I get you on the straight and narrow, and we're going to talk about calculated risk. I also want to tell you about your fears, because I know that whenever we think about big ideas like becoming rich, there's going to be money mindset blocks that are going to present themselves. And I want to help you get rid of those anchors and move forward into prosperity. And last, we're going to give you a plan for how you can rise to the top. Knowing your numbers is really key. I'm going to talk more about that within this program today. So first up, before we go any further, let me tell you a little story. Now, I want to introduce you to Mini Megan. This is Megan, 8th grade edition. Now, let me tell you about me back then. I was a couple things. I was a choir girl. I was an altar server. I was a junior state champ. I was a teacher's pet. I was a bookworm. That's how you would define me. What I was not was just one simple word. Cool. I was not cool, but I really wanted to be. And if anyone had a traumatic 8th grade or middle school experience, you know what this is like. I was the only girl in my school who was not a cheerleader. I was just not accepted to be on the team. And here I was looking from the sidelines and just wishing I could be a part of that crowd. And it was my big ambition. I said, how can I change this? Can I be a different person one year than I was the year before? So enter freshman year. Now here I am in high school, and I have a new opportunity ahead of me. And I knew that I could change things dramatically, or at least I hoped I could. But what it was going to take to be cool was one thing. In my mind, being cool meant simply this: I would have to dance. I don't know where I got that from. I had never danced before. Like I said, I couldn't even clap to a beat. But could I be the cool kid if I danced? I thought the answer was yes. So I was going to have to try this out. Now, the moment of truth came. We're on the dance floor the first week of school, and all the lights are low, and it's incredibly awkward because no one is out there on the floor. And you know how they say, dance like no one is watching? Well, you can't do that when freshman year because everybody is watching you. So I'm looking at this empty dance floor, and I said, I'm going to make my move. This is my moment. And I took the first step forward, and I got out on the dance floor, and I danced. I danced, guys, and suddenly, before I knew it, all these people were coming up on the dance floor too, and we were all dancing together, and it was such a blast. And right away, I realized that they were just looking for that leadership. They were just looking for that permission to have fun, and I was the person they looked to. So as I was going through the night, people would come up to me and say, "Oh my God, you're that dancing girl." And I said, "Yeah," and that became my reputation. And if you meet me to this day, if there's music playing, you're going to see me dancing. I'm always out there on the dance floor at parties, and I love it. But I was not that way. Things changed dramatically, and they changed in one night for the rest of my life. So what the heck does this have to do with photography? Well, here's the thing. If you want to change, you have to be willing to take a chance. You have to do something dramatically different than you've ever done before. Are you willing to do it? Are you willing to risk? Could you fall on your face? Maybe. But could you win? Absolutely. That's what we're talking about today. How to dance with risk. That is going to be our mission. Now, when we're talking about dancing with risk, there's a couple things that are going to hold you back. And I know this because the bookworm inside me went ahead and looked it up in the dictionary. Let's talk about what risk is. Risk as a noun is a situation involving exposure to danger. And the verb doesn't get any better. To expose someone or something to danger, harm, or loss. Now, guys, that's terrifying because we're not just talking about an innocent night of fun out on a dance floor here. We're talking about putting your livelihood at stake. When you risk, you could expose your loved ones to danger, harm, or loss. And is that something that you're confident doing? I know that it's scary. I'm going to tell you throughout this program about the times I did that, how I've been in your shoes too. And I've moved from a struggling stay-at-home mom to now a 7-figure entrepreneur. And I've done this through a series of calculated risks. I'm going to show you how. Now, when you think about these things, some things are going to kick in, some fears. You're going to have fear of loss. Of course, what if I put money out there? What if I lose my money? That's a huge fear. What about fear of failure? If you risk, you could face plant. And is that going to be fun? Not really. And then here's one that was big for me, was fear of success. And when I was thinking about building a big business, the business of my dream, I had to face this fear. Now, there was a quote that inspired me so much that I actually put it up in my office and I looked at it every day. This quote was by Marianne Williamson, and here it is. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Who are you not to be all the things that you're capable of? Now, when we think about winning big and risking big and possibly becoming rich, we have to face the fear that we're moving from two different perspectives, from a wage earner mindset to an entrepreneur mindset. Now, wage earner mindset is trapped into us from childhood on. Our society really reinforces this. And I want to break apart the different pieces, the way that you might think with this mindset versus the new mindset that I want you to evolve to. So wage earners have this idea that they're going to trade time for money. So the idea being, time is linear, and therefore I can only make as much as I have time to give. They're thinking about time as, is it $10 an hour that I work? Do I work a $100 an hour job? What am I worthy of? Now, when you think about this linear fashion, you can only make as much money as there are hours in the day. And what does this mean? That you work 2-3 jobs? This is a very limited way of thinking. Entrepreneurs think differently. Here's what I'd invite you to think about instead. I make money by solving more problems. Now, that's really fascinating. I can make money by solving more problems. If I'm thinking in a linear way, then I am worthy of a photo shoot of however many hundreds of dollars I want to put on the table. But if I think of it as a problem-solving thing, I'm not just making money by taking pretty pictures. Because let's be real, everyone can take pretty pictures. Your iPhone in your pocket takes pretty darn good pictures. I've seen it from my clients on social media. They're already doing fine by themselves. What do they need from me? They need their problem solved. So their problems might look like the infamous, what am I going to wear to the photo shoot problem? Or how am I going to keep my husband happy during this shoot? How am I going to manage a toddler or teenager's expectations? What am I going to do with these portraits? I'm going to help them solve the problem about where their art goes in their home. We're going to decorate to match their decor. These are all the problems that I solve and bring to the table for my client. And because I solve so many problems, I can therefore put a higher price tag on the line and my clients will pay it gladly. Another wage earner mentality is that my earnings are capped by my employer. That means you are at the whim of whether your employer wants to raise you or not. So if you continue on in this job, when's the next raise coming? Is it a year from now? Is it 10 years from now? You're just hoping and praying you get that next promotion. But there's a different way of thinking. The entrepreneur mindset says, I have unlimited earnings. I can earn whatever I can imagine, whatever problems I can solve. I can command my own paycheck. And it's a much more freeing and limitless way of being. Wage earners next, they believe that certifications and degrees lead to that higher income. Now, guys, I'm a college dropout. My husband, Eric, also a college dropout. I'm not really a big fan of degrees and merits. What I do is I look at what education can I seek beyond the books, or maybe even inside the books? So since I was a teenager, I've been reading business and mindset books. I've been reading hundreds of these. I will have mentors. I go to conferences. I love learning from mindset coaches and my mastermind buddies. There's all kinds of ways that you can learn, and it doesn't have to be just within the walls of an institution. You as an entrepreneur can seek any useful education to grow your income. It doesn't have to be the cut and dried certifications that we're used to when we all learned if you get a college diploma, you make the big bucks. That's not necessarily true. A wage earner also believes in this myth of security. Now, there were so many people who thought their jobs were safe until a recession hits or until a pandemic hits. And then suddenly that job that was your bedrock that you were sure was going to be with you for decades is suddenly gone. There is no security in having a square job, though your parents and your friends might try to make you believe that this is true. Entrepreneurs know that the true security is in diversification. If you can control your earnings by controlling the problems you solve, then you can make as much money as you want. And you can also pivot much more nimbly than if you were in a big corporation. So as entrepreneurs, we have the opportunity to continue to earn more money, to carve our path and set our future. Now, I love this quote. My family says this quite often. If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. So we're going to next talk about how to dream big. This quote is actually something that my son rehearsed back to me. When he was 10 years old, he said that he wanted to work in Hollywood. And at the time, he thought moving from Florida to California in a big market like that, that's a crazy idea. So he presented this idea and said, I'm going to work in Hollywood because, hey, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough, right? And I just love that. I love that that's what we have instilled in our children, that they are thinking big like that. Now, I want to encourage you guys to think big with big imaginations too. So let's start off by talking about what does photography bring to you in terms of income? What are your income goals? Because, hey, we're professionals. If you want to be a hobbyist, more power to you. If you want to just take photos because you love the passion and the craft, by all means do. But as a professional, you're responsible for a paycheck for yourself. It's the very definition of being a pro. So when we think about what is our paycheck, what do we deserve to make as entrepreneurs, as business owners, one good guide we can use is the happiness index. You might have heard of the happiness index before. And the last time I read it, it said that in order to provide for general security, well-being, and ease, you must make, what do you suppose the number was? Well, back when I read it, the number was $75,000, but the number has since changed. They have updated the happiness index, and over the years, we've found that, in fact, if you live in North America, United States, or Canada, the happiness index now says that the life satisfaction must be $105,000 annual salary. So when you guys think about the money that you had decided that you should make from photography, was it $105,000, or were you selling yourself short? Now, Purdue and Go Banking, they actually took this a step further and they said, let's look at it by state. So let's look at this map here. If you live in one of these states, then you will need to make $100,000 salary to achieve that baseline happiness index. If you live in one of these more premium states on the coast, you would need to make $125,000. And if you're in the most premium markets, let's say California, New York, Alaska, you need $150,000 or more just for that baseline security, health, and happiness. And hey, if you live in Hawaii, it might even be $205,000. So be aware of where you live. This can also vary within your state itself. So for example, I live in Florida. If I were in Miami or Naples, Florida, I would need an even higher standard of living. So now back to you guys. If you're thinking about your income, I want you to think like an owner, no more wage earner. You must be now an entrepreneur. And when you think of a business owner, think about the people in your community who own salons or have a dental practice, own a gym. These business owners, do you think that they started up this brick and mortar business trying to earn $40,000, $50,000? No, as business owners, we've got a lot more on our plate. We have the stress of hiring and firing and managing a team. We have to set the vision for the team. We've got to be in charge of getting that next client in the door. So with all these responsibilities, thinking like an owner means you are worth more. I encourage you to put a big number on there. And yeah, go ahead and set that number over 6 figures. Be ambitious, be rich, have the mindset of an entrepreneur. You are in charge of vision, marketing, and sales. Those are the big 3. That's where your head should be all the time. And in charge of those 3 means that you can command big bucks because you're running a big business here. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to think to yourself, yeah, but I'm not ready yet. Like maybe you're worried that your work isn't good enough. I know so many people think that. What if your work isn't good enough? Can you charge the big bucks? Now, to reassure you, I want to tell you that this goal we're setting down on paper, this income goal, is really a 3-year plan. So when you think about your business and you're thinking about it 3 years from now, at that time, you have clients referring you all the time. Your phone is ringing off the hook. You're the it girl or guy in the community. At that time, what is the income that you want to make? So does that take some pressure off for you guys? This isn't about what do you want to make tomorrow. This is about what are you going to grow into? And setting a big goal 3 years from now is really beneficial because if you set it too short, you're going to be a little bit afraid. You're going to say, if 1 year from now, I can't possibly make that. If you set it too far away, 5 years, you might start to get a little overly ambitious. I've heard people say, well, can I make $1 million in 5 years? Maybe. But by thinking 3 years out, we can really set a realistic, still ambitious, big goal on paper. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to encourage you guys to do a little sketch of what might business look like because we have to know our numbers. So we're going to take this bar napkin here and I'm going to sketch out what business might look like for you. First thing we got to do is we got to start with that salary goal. Remember, I'm going to encourage you to be over $100,000. Let's put the number $150,000 down on our bar napkin and see where this goes. Now, we have a handy benchmark that we can use. Do y'all know about PPA, Professional Photographers of America? What they do is they survey successful photographers in the industry, and they say, what do we find to be true among the successful studios? And here's what the numbers reflect. In their benchmark survey, they discovered that successful photographers tend to have about 30% fixed costs. What is a fixed cost? A fixed cost is anything that it takes to keep the lights on. So if you've got studio rent, your gear costs, your cost of employees, that's all going to go under fixed costs because you pay those bills whether you've got a client in the door or not. Now, the other piece of the pie is going to be your variable costs, what we call cost of goods sold. So successful studios tend to have about a 25% COGS, and that would be if you don't have a client, you don't have the cost. So obviously our costs of products, prints, albums, things like that, but also you might have some variable costs like a makeup artist or a retoucher. So again, if you don't have the client, you don't have the cost, but we do have to account for the cost when we finish off that sale completely. And then lastly, this leaves us with our net. PPA would say that successful studios do 45% net profit when they are a home studio. Now, if you're a commercial space, you have a little bit higher overhead, and therefore that net comes down even more, down to 35%. Now, when I talk to my students, I don't want my students to just be average. I want them to be above average. So for all you guys who want to be above average, I would recommend let's just target a nice, even 50% net. What that means is that for every dollar that you make, half is staying in your pocket and the other half is going to overhead. So as we target 50% net, we're going to do this on the back of our bar napkin together. We're going to take that $150,000 salary, multiply it by 2, and this means that our annual revenue must be $300,000. Now, some of you might be a little intimidated by that number. Did you know that you have to run a $300,000 business to hit that $150,000 salary? So now that we've got those two numbers together, let's talk about how many clients we need. So in business, obviously we're here to serve clients, but just how many is practical or realistic? Now I know you guys, and I know that you didn't come here to build a factory. You came to build a family. So the idea is high customer service, treating your clients like family, treating them like gold. And that means lavishing time and attention upon them. I love that. I love that I can really treat my clients to my Lux business model, but that takes time. So when I think about what hours I actually have available, even if I'm outsourcing some certain pieces, it turns out that I spend roughly 30 hours per client start to finish with the complete process. And if you're spending a lot of time and attention on your clients too, the realistic answer is that you can probably serve about 2 clients per week, and then you can multiply that by the numbers of weeks worked. So we're going to go 2 shoots per week as our average, but now let's ask ourselves, how much time do you want off? So think about this. As a wage earner, you were probably begging for vacation time, and you were lucky if your boss would give you 2 weeks. That would be amazing. But as an entrepreneur, you're in charge of this ship. So you decide what your time freedom looks like. Do you want to take 4 weeks vacation? High five. Do you want to take 8 weeks vacation? I love that. 12 weeks? Go for it. Now, when you have your weeks off, we also have to consider that all the weight is on your shoulder if you're a solopreneur. So if you get sick, that's also going to count as one of the weeks off. So we want to be conservative here in the number of weeks that we can actually achieve in a given year. So I'm going to suggest that we target 6 weeks off, which means 46 weeks worked. Now back to our bar napkin, we're going to take our 2 clients per week, multiply by 46 weeks worked, and that means we are going to serve 92 clients per year. Now, the biggest piece. How much must we make per client? So more math ahead. We're going to take the $300,000 annual revenue. We're going to divide it by 92 clients. And the answer is you must make $3,261 per client. Did you know that? Are you hitting $3,000 per client? Now, most times when I talk to people, they are nowhere near that. They are at $500 per client or $1,000 or $1,500 per client. Now, if your goal is to get to $150K, you will never do that at $1,500. You have to be higher. You have to use your numbers and lean into that so that you're creating the successful business that will serve you. So with that big number, 3,261, burn that into your brain and let's think about how we can achieve that per client. Entrepreneurs, you gotta know your numbers. This is your call to action right here. Know your numbers, know your pricing system. How will you get there? How will you inspire clients to spend big? That's your mission. Now, I want to tell you guys that I don't believe that salespeople are born. A lot of people say, oh gosh, Megan, you can sell big because you were just born that way. No, I wasn't. I am actually just like all of you. Like you heard about my humble upbringings as a kid. And then even when I dropped out of school, I had to find my way in the retail world. So I learned these sales techniques, and you can learn them too. Now, when I started my photography career, here's what it looked like. I had my two little cherubs at home. I was a mom with a camera. Is anyone else an MWAC? That's how I started. So I got this camera because I love taking pictures of my kids so much. And I was also at the same time that Facebook was really hitting the masses. So back in 2009, I was putting up photos all the time of my kids, photos just like this. People loved them so much, they said, Megan, will you photograph my kids? Will you photograph my family? The first client that I ever got, I didn't know what to charge at all. It was just someone who came to me on Facebook and said, will you take a photo of my daughter's engagement? And I didn't know what to charge. So I said, sure, what would you pay me? And she said, $70. And I said, sign me up. Sign me up for that $70. I was so excited. I went running home to my family and I said, guys, I just made $70. We're going out to dinner. And I was under the impression, like so many of us are, that I was trading dollars for time. And so that hour photo shoot for $70 sounded pretty darn good. But after we went to dinner, we actually blew the entire profits in one meal. And after that, I actually had 40 hours of work that followed that shoot because I was a newbie at retouching and everything was taking me much longer than I thought. So when I did the math, I actually made dollars per hour. And that was not the vision I had for myself. So the next client came, someone new asking me for a photo shoot. And they said, how much will you charge for my family photos? And I said, I'm not going to do $70 an hour. No way. I'm going to charge you $250 for this photo shoot. And I thought, surely now I'm going to cover my costs. This will be good to go. And it wasn't either, because I was still putting in so much time and just all the endless phone calls and the details and the ordering of the product and the relating all this to the client. It was so much time out. $250 was not cutting it. Now, fortunately for me, I only had 1 year as a shoot and burner, and I went ahead and I got shoot and burned right out. I said, this is not working for me. I must find a new way to do things, and this dollars per hour is not the answer. I've got to see what problems I can solve for my client. I've got to be more holistic in my approach and giving them the true experience that I want. So, opportunity came knocking, and how do you know what you don't know? I was new in the business and I knew I didn't understand how to market or sell photography. So an opportunity presented itself. My friend said, go to this convention, Megan, you're going to learn everything you need here. But there was a problem. This convention was going to cost me big because my kids were still just babies at the time. I had never been away from them for more than 2 hours, and this convention was going to be 10 days. So how was I going to break from the family for all that time? Well, I decided, what if the family came with me? What if we bought 4 plane tickets, not one, all went to this convention together and spent the week there learning? Is this going to work? I don't know. But did I hope? Yeah, I sure did. And what was the price tag for that? It turns out it was $5,000. So we started joking. We called this the $5,000 debacle. Eric and I didn't know if this was going to be successful or not, but we had to try. And that's a tip I want to give you guys right here. Be light with money. Don't be so heavy with it. Don't treat it like this horrible, dastardly thing. Instead, we just called it the $5,000 debacle, because if it didn't pan out, we would say, yeah, we knew it wasn't going to pan out, but hey, we had to try. But would it pan out? That's what I was about to find out. Now, it turns out that I'm in good company with this, because there are a lot of famous entrepreneurs that put money out there on the line, not knowing if they would get it back. And let's hear how that went for them. So Sarah Blakely. Now, if you guys don't know Sarah Blakely, if you're a woman, you probably have some of her products in your closet. She is the famous owner of Spanx. And Sarah saw a problem. She wanted to have a product for her sales calls. She loved the smoothing effect of pantyhose, but wanted to wear open-toe shoes. So with this problem in her mind, like a great entrepreneur, she said, I know how to solve this. And she presented her solution to the powers that be at the hosiery mills in North Carolina. Problem was, they were all men and they didn't see her vision like she did. Everyone laughed her out of the room and she said, I've got this vision and I've got this problem that I know I can solve. Let me just keep at it. So she went her sales force of one and started selling things in department stores, and eventually got so much publicity she showed up on Oprah and of course got the Oprah bump, and Sarah Blakely then became the youngest female self-made billionaire. And how did she do it? She did it with $5,000 in savings. That's how she started her business back in her apartment in Atlanta. Now, are you willing to take $5,000 out of savings to launch your business? What about some other entrepreneurs? How about these guys, Sergey Brin and Larry Page? They are the founders of Google, and they maxed out $15,000 on credit card debt. That's even scarier than $5,000. But without it, there wouldn't be the Google that we know today. How about Vera Wang? Does anyone want a daddy like this? Her father gave her $4 million to start her boutique back when she was 40 years old. And so again, there's never too late to start a new business. She had a vision, she had the startup funds, and she made it work. Now, I, of course, did the $5,000 debacle. So we have now 4 great examples of people who took risk and put money on the line to see their vision through. Eric and I have this quote that we say all the time. We text it to each other back and forth, and we go hashtag ITMTMM. It takes money to make money, because constantly as we're talking about our new businesses, we're saying, what's it going to take? Well, it's going to take money to make money. And we say it so often, in fact, that sometimes we jokingly switch the hashtag to ITMTTM. It takes money to take money. Because guys, we treat money like it's light. We don't act like it's a heavy thing. If we lose it, we lose it. But more often than not, and quite frequently, we actually make that money back, because putting the money on the line in a calculated way is the way to advance your career. Now, why do small businesses fail? It's actually for the exact opposite of these experiences we're talking about here. In 79% of time, they started out with too little money. So if you haven't fueled your business, you are not going to succeed. 78% of the time, they lack a developed business plan. Now, we sketched out just now on that back of the bar napkin what business could look like for you, but you got to know so much more detail than that. You have to know your 3-year plan, your 5-year plan, what's your monthly goal, what's your quarterly goal. You got to know the cost of everything that takes to run your business. If you don't know this, you are set up to fail. So let's succeed by knowing those numbers and having that business plan. 77% fail to price properly. 77% of businesses fail to price properly. And that is why when I started out, my business was doomed, because the shoot and burn method, $250, that wasn't going to cut it. I had to raise my pricing all the way up to that $3,000 average. So what I'm telling you here is that Rich needs resources. You need to identify for yourself what is going to be the way that you start this business. And any of these are options. Will you get a square job until you have the reserves? No shame in going back to work and building up that nest egg for yourself. Will you do like I did and borrow from lenders, or even put it on credit card? Will you borrow from your family or friends like Vera Wang did? Or will you lean into the financial support of your spouse? Find the option that's right for you, but know that you're going to need money to start this business off right. So what are the resources you have to succeed? Do you have that developed business plan? And are you confident in your pricing? Have you done the math, looked at your numbers, and decided on the number that's going to serve you for your long-term sustainable business? Now that we know about business foundations, let's talk about what's holding you back, because I know it's fun to talk about risk and rewards and all the riches ahead, but when it comes right down to it, making money can be scary. There are a lot of mindset blocks that are going to trip you up, and I want to release you from those now so that you can move forward with more confidence. Let's talk about these money mind blocks, and let's get over them. First up, money will change me. Have you ever thought that before? If I make more money, I'm going to be a different person. Now, I know that people are thinking this whether they admit it or not, because I hear this all the time. People will tell me, oh, Megan, but I can't work with rich people, because rich people, gosh, every time I've worked with them, they're so fill in the blank. They're so greedy. They're so selfish. They're so rude. They're so penny pinching. What are the things that you're telling yourselves about rich people? And are those things really true? Because when I'm talking to mentor students and they give me this whole list of rich people are XYZ, I do stop them and say, you do realize that I'm rich, right? And I actually think I'm a pretty cool person. So if you're okay with me, maybe it's possible that you're okay with other rich people too. And maybe you can, in fact, grow to be that rich person yourself. So letting go of this mindset blocks means this: money will not change you. Money will reveal you. if you're already a generous person, you're going to continue to be a generous person. If you're nice, you're going to be nice. If you're lovely, you're going to be lovely. You know what? On the flip side, if you're a jerk, you're going to continue to be a jerk. So yes, there are people who are rich and are not nice, but there are plenty of people who are rich and are just absolute delights, and you can be one of them too. When you make more money, it's like turning up the volume on your natural personality, and this can be you. Why not magnify your best qualities? And when you have money to do so, you can be more abundant, more sharing than ever before. Here's another money mindset block. More money will bring more problems. Is this really true? Have you guys ever seen that having more money hurt you? Because I haven't found that to be true. To the contrary, I find that when I have more money, I can solve more problems. So if you want to send your kids to college, money is going to help you do that. If you want to take care of your parents into retirement, money is going to help you do that. If you want to give to charities, hey, if you even just want to get a new pair of shoes and a great new closet, money is going to allow you to do that. Having more money helps you achieve the things that you want, and that's not a bad thing. That's a wonderful thing. So I love this quote here. Whoever said money can't solve your problems must not have had enough money to solve them. Am I right? Mic drop, Ariana Grande. She's got it. So when we're thinking about money, money can actually help us. And I want to encourage you to think about all the ways that money can enrich your life instead of dragging you down. What about this one? I don't feel worthy. That you're not worthy to be rich, that you're not worthy to make the big bucks. So a lot of times people may not use this exact phrase, I don't feel worthy, but they'll throw around different phrases that sound like this. I can't show up in front of my perfect client because I don't feel like I look like them. Maybe you're feeling you're out of shape, or you're not the right look. You don't have the right presentation, the right clothes. Maybe you're worried that your perfect client is looking for a man and you're a woman, or vice versa. Or maybe you think you're too young or too old. Whatever it might be, there's something that's holding you back from showing up. And it's because you don't think that this thing is going to help you be worthy and help you be connected in that group. Now, I used to feel this too. I used to worry about a lot of things, really, a lot of things about my body and my presentation. But top on the list was that I was worried that I had a snaggletooth. And I just thought people would look at my busted mouth and they would think, oh gosh, she doesn't belong. Who's this girl with the crooked teeth? So I let that stop me from showing up. But before long, I said, if I'm going to move forward with my business, I have to show up. I have to be present. I have to smile at people, and I need to connect. And I have that superpower to do so if I would just move past my own insecurities. So what I did was I started off by making this video. This was something I made in my first year in business. And wait till you see what my teeth look like. Here we go.
Ladies, do you want to look incredible the next time someone busts out a camera? I'm going to give you 5 secrets on how to look magazine ready for your next photo shoot. The first step is hair and makeup. I'm feeling so much better now with my hair and makeup done. In the before, I had dark circles under my eyes. We corrected that with concealer. We also add a whole lot of emphasis to the eyes with false lashes and some extra contouring. The next thing of hair makes a huge difference. Now I have volume drawing the attention to my face, and I'm looking and feeling great.
So despite the lisp and the, hi guys, this is Megan, I still moved forward with my business, and I still showed up and made connections. Now, I want to tell you that your perceived weakness might actually be your greatest strength. Whatever it is that you think is holding you back might actually be the very thing that people are looking for. When I launched that video in my community, I shared it with everyone I knew, and it became quite a bit of a viral sensation. It had thousands of views. People were talking about it all throughout town. And I wondered why that was, because compared with my videos today, that video was very imperfect. And it wasn't polished, or it was kind of professional, but it wasn't really the perfect picture that I put out today. But I think that people saw that, and they saw someone relatable and someone flawed, someone like maybe how they feel about themselves. And they thought, if she can show up, then I can show up with her. So that viral video I made actually led to tens of thousands of dollars of business, and it really helped me put myself out in the community. I challenge you guys to say, what could you do putting yourself out there despite your fears, despite how you feel about whatever worry it is? Because really, though I know you think that people are all looking at you, they're really not. People are really more concerned with themselves, and maybe they're worried about their own insecurities while you're there worried about yours. So to get past all this, remember one of my favorite quotes. Don't be nervous, lead with service. If you just think about how can I serve that person? How can I connect more? You will win. If you're looking at the other person and what good you can bring into their life, they will like you and they will look at you as someone they want to be near. So leading with service makes you worthy. I love this idea that you are all worthy to receive because you're all worthy to give. And when we give more, we receive more. So leaning into that can help us conquer our insecurities and move forward despite the fears. Now, this one might be the biggest fear of them all. I haven't paid my dues yet. Have you worried about that? Because I know so many of us, we're artists, and artists tend to be very insecure, and we're worried chiefly about what does our work look like? Are we really producing the quality of work that's worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars? So I want to tell you about how I started. Now, when I started launching wall art, I wanted to work with moms with babies. And guys, whenever I show you a picture, this is probably not the client that I'm talking about because I don't kiss and tell. But I want you to imagine this story with me. Here I was, hired by a new mom to photograph her baby. And I was new to newborn photography, but I was going to knock it out of the park. And I studied my butt off, and I really brought my A game. And I was so excited by the images I created at that newborn session. I thought it was my best work ever because I practiced, I executed, and man, did I deliver at the highest mark. So then when I went to go sell wall art, I was fully confident, and the client bought so many pieces of art. She actually spent $5,000. So I knew that I had done what I came to do. I'd knocked it out of the park. Now, fast forward 5 years into the future, this same client is pregnant again. And in the meantime, over 5 years, of course, my art had gotten better. Your art is always going to become better. You are always going to be working for that next level, and you're always going to have that mastery just ahead of you. But as I achieved more, I came back to the shoot with newfound knowledge, and I challenged the lighting that I previously thought was perfectly, and I did it better, and I did better posing, and I created something even more exquisite. So the problem was that when I walked into this client's home to look at where we were going to hang her new art, I happened to see the old art up on the wall, and I was totally cringing because I was like, I hope she doesn't know that that art was not that great. But it was the greatest art that I could create. And so here I come again with newfound skills, and I created once again the best newborn shoot ever. And when the client saw it, what do you think she spent? She spent the exact same money. Once again, $5,000 sale, new wall art up on the walls, and a happy client, happy as ever. She loved the previous art and she loved this new art because here's the thing. Clients can see the difference between bad and good art, but they can't necessarily see the difference between good and great art. So as long as you're producing at a good level, you are ready to charge big. Your clients will love your art at whatever level you're at when you're creating an exceptional experience, beautiful products, and when you're really trying your best. So create that good art and charge big for it. Now, when I started in 2005, that's when my little baby boy was born, can we look at this art and say that this is bad art? Okay, guys, you can do it. It won't hurt me. It's okay. I'm secure enough. But this photo was actually a bad photo. But this was my start. And I love it because it's a photo of my son. So, of course, I love his newborn photo that I took. Now, what happened when 2010 came around and then I officially launched Megan DePiro Photography? Well, at that time, my art got better. You can see that I'm being a little more conscious about the styling I'm doing and a little bit more knowledge about lighting, thankfully. So my art had improved. Then when we move into 2015 and beyond, even more skills came to the table. Much more intentional composition, beautiful soft lighting, even better retouching, better styling, better color harmony. So obviously I have grown through the years, but when you look at all these images together, pop quiz, how many of these images are up on someone's wall? 100%. All of these people with all of these portraits have art up on their wall. They found it worthy. I found it worthy in 2005, the photo of my son. The next client found her art worthy, and the next client found her art worthy too. Let's look at some more examples. How about it? Let's go show the greatest hits of Megan DePiro Photography. Here we are. So when we look at this photo on the left, a good beach photo, right? And a great loving moment. But compared with the other image, you can see a lot of differences. Better posing, better lighting. So obviously my skill increased over the years. How about this one here? Well, back when I started family photography, I was really big into silhouettes. I have no idea why, probably because I didn't know how to light. So silhouettes it was, and for some reason I didn't even take the time to take the client's possessions out of her hands, so we have this weird silhouette with her left hand there, but whatever. Then when we get into the newer times, you see much better styling, better lighting, posing composition, all that good stuff. So much improvement in the family photos. And then when we look at our photography in studio, okay, I've got these really blocked up shadows. Certainly that image is not going to win any awards on the left. And then we've got the award-winning image on the right with just all around better qualities. Now with each of these photos I've shown you, which of these people bought wall art? All of them. All of these people bought wall art. They all found the art to be good and worthy of spending thousands of dollars. So you can charge big when your art is good, and you can continue to charge big when your art is great. You are ready now. Please take this as your sign of permission. You don't have to wait to pay your dues. In fact, if you wait till you're a master, you're going to be out of business. You have to charge big today so that you can stay in the game long enough to make the money to stay in business. So instead of I haven't paid my dues, just remember this, your art is ready. You are ready. Go forth. You got this. What would you do if you had no fear? There's going to be mindset blocks. I promise you there's going to be imposter syndrome. And remember, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. So have fear, yes, but don't let it stop you. Move forward in face of the fear. Do it scared. Do it anyway. The mindset issues are going to always be with you, but you will overcome them as you have more and more success. So now we're going to talk about jumping in. Now, before we go to the next step, we got to talk about when is it a good time to leap? And there are some hallmarks of a calculated risk that I want to go over with you so that you know when it's time to jump. Speaking of calculating risk, when my family moved into professional photography full-time, that was back in 2013, and we had to look at what was our plan and is this even going to be possible to do? So the idea was that we were going to carve out our studio in our home. And I would go full-time, Eric would quit his job and move into the business. And that meant because of all these things, we were 100% committed. There was no other option but our plan A. If we move forward, we were moving forward wholeheartedly. So we took our home, and it was this lovely 1,800 square foot ranch home in the wrong side of town in Fort Myers. And we said, let's carve out half of it. So fully half of it became the studio. That meant that I gave up my master bedroom, moved into the guest room in the back, the kids shared a room, and we were moving forward with this new studio improvement and going to invite our clients into our home to do the shoots. The other piece of the pie was, what is the income that we're looking at losing? What kind of risk are we talking about here? Well, in 2012, Eric had done $122,000 from his real estate income. Now, I had made thousands of dollars at that time myself, but when we looked at the portrait revenue of $36,000, with all the costs that were going out starting my new business, I actually only made $2,823. So that doesn't look like a lot to go on, but we thought, should we make this jump? Is now the right time? We had to look at the risks and see if this was real. So here are some hallmarks of a calculated risk. First up, do you have a proof of concept? Now, at the time, I had completed my education for the most part, and I was rocking and rolling with sales. I had sales as high as $5,000, and my average sale was right at $2,500. So my proof of concept was there. I saw that photography could be very profitable, and I could make thousands of dollars per client, but what I needed more time in order to do that, because I needed to go out and fulfill my big three, my vision, marketing, and sales. And marketing really needed my time and attention. So going full time would allow me to do that. The next thing was, does it work on paper? Did I have a solid plan? The answer to that is, of course, yes. As a business owner and an entrepreneur, I always look at my plan. What does your plan look like? Have you done a thorough cost of doing business analysis? Do you know your profit margin? Do you know your 3-year plan? If you have that stuff on paper and you've gone through the coaching to get that done, you are ready to move forward as well. And the last thing was, does it achieve a worthy goal? So we had already decided that being an entrepreneur was for us. Eric and I loved being entrepreneurs. We loved the promise of having the freedom and having our time back. We loved the idea of being able to make uncapped earnings and having limitless potential. So we loved that, and we were willing to make the sacrifices to have that become real for us. It works on paper. We've got the proof of concept. Let's go for that worthy goal. So now, when you're talking about moving forward, I want you to think about being hungry, not starving. So hungry means this. When Eric quit his full-time job and moved into my business, that meant that I was the entrepreneur. I was the breadwinner. Everything was on the line. And if I didn't perform, our family didn't eat. So were we going to be hungry? We weren't, because I was going to work my butt off, but yes, we could have been. So having that hunger is the thing that will push you to make big moves and to do the scary things like getting out in the community despite a snaggletooth and meeting more clients. But I also don't want you to be starving, because the flip side of this, where you're starving, that's going to look like desperation to your clients. And no one wants to work with someone who's desperate. So if you feel that you have absolutely no safety net, no startup funds, no money in the bank, then you're going to feel really desperate, and that's going to make you make poor decisions. So have a little bit of a buffer that you're not too scared, but keep hungry and keep making the scary moves. Now, we've been talking a lot about startup. What if you're already established? What if you're a veteran pro? Are you willing to risk? Because there are risks for us who are more experienced as well. It's the risk of changing course. Let me give you an example of that. I was once talking to a mentor student, and she was really on the edge of winning. What she was looking at was, she described to me her business as it is and her business as she wanted it to be. So it turns out that she had this senior business that she had been doing for decades, and her clients used to love and pay her really well. But as the years had gone by, fewer and fewer people were coming to her, and she was really finding it to be an unsatisfying career. She was frustrated with the changes in the industry, and she wasn't seeing the fruits of the labor that she was doing. Now, meanwhile, as much as a drag as this genre was on her, she had this amazing new promising genre that she loved too, and it was doing fine art portraits of children. She was doing these beautiful painted portraits. Her clients absolutely loved her. They were paying her very well, and it was a very exciting place to be. So I'm looking at it and I'm saying, you got this one thing dragging you down. You got this other thing lifting you up. The answer here is clearly to go forward into this one. Why aren't you doing it? What's holding you back? Why aren't you taking the leap to pursue this new course? And she said, well, Megan, see, the thing is that if I change to that business, I'm going to have to change my business name. And I already have this entire box of pens with my logo on it. So what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, oh my God, you're going to throw away the box of pens. How much did that box of pens cost? $200? Throw it in the trash. Now, if you're laughing thinking about this story, you wouldn't be alone. But here's the thing. We all have sunk costs like this. There are things that are holding you back that you're telling yourself, I can't move forward until I justify that cost I spent. I can't change now. I can't risk this. And the answer is yes, you can, but you have to let go of those burdens that are holding you back. These things, this metaphorical box of pens, is not serving you. Let go of the sunk cost, move forward with your new ambition, and watch how things change for you. So the next time you catch yourself saying, I can't, like I can't afford that workshop, or I can't change genres, or I can't let the sunk costs go, ask yourself, how can I? Can I move forward beyond that? And I wanted to encourage you guys to don't let short-sighted, defensive thinking hold you back from big picture visionary action. If there's something big ahead of you, you have to go for it and let those costs go. Another way to think about moving forward into risk is to know your pain and define your gain. So another student I was working with, she told me about how she always had an income of $50,000. She found herself to be successful because for 10 years she was making $50K profit every year, and that was a good business model. Until it wasn't. See, what happened was her landlord raised the rent on her, and she could no longer afford to live in her house for that $50,000 income that she was making. So she had to move to a new apartment. And really quickly, she found that unsatisfying. Why? Because the new apartment had rats in it. That was very unpleasant for her. And she knew that the same old things she was doing weren't going to bring her the new gains. So she had to try something new and dramatic. And to inspire her to action, she said, I'm going to make a t-shirt, Megan, with a big no rats sign on it so that I can move forward and do the hard thing, because I am sick of living with rats. I love that idea. Another idea is the famous realtor, Ryan Serhant. Now, Ryan, as you might know, has been responsible for closing deals as big as $122 million. But that wasn't always the case for him either. Some of the biggest entrepreneurs we know started out very humble. And his pain for him was that one time he was getting off a subway and he just wanted a snack. So he stopped at a little bodega in the city. And when he went to ran his credit card, he got declined for a charge for a yogurt. That was so depressing to him that he couldn't even afford yogurt that he said, never again. He defined that pain. Now, whether it's no rats or no yogurt, what is the thing that you are going to avoid? What are you going to use as your fuel and your motivation to stop accepting less than what you're worth? Find that pain so that you can encourage yourself to move beyond it and let go of it. Now, on the flip side, we have know your gain. So what is your gain? What do you stand to get? Could it be that you want a new house or a new car or to send your kids to college or just to feel that you've created something very special all on your own? I want you to put into concrete terms, what does it mean, this gain that you have ahead of you? And put that in your imagination so that you can constantly strive for that too. One or both of these are going to be very motivating to you, but you have to define them so that you know the reason why you're working as hard as you are. As you move into your business and you start taking risks, be prepared to face resistance. Our society, unfortunately, is not set up for entrepreneurs. We are set up for wage earners. We've been conditioned to believe that our time is finite and limited in our gains. So your family, your friends, they're going to stop you in your tracks. I promise you that this is coming. They're going to say, why are you doing this? This isn't going to work, because they want to pull you back. Now, in my book, She Sells, I talk about the 3 big reasons why people hold us back. It's these 3 Ps. It's because of propriety or self-preservation or protection. I like to think that when people push back against me, it's not because they don't want me to succeed. It's really because they're trying to protect me. They're trying to hold on to the safety of the herd, and let's all do the same thing together. But I'm not going to achieve big by doing the same thing as everyone else. So I have to push myself outside that comfort zone and that zone of protection and do something different than what most people are willing to do. So talk about resistance from family. Here we go. This is my family right here. Now, excuse the snapshot because this family is also not the type to take portraits. Humble folk from Michigan. Here we are at our cottage. Now, pictured here, that tall gentleman in the back, that is my father-in-law. And he was the original challenger to my business. Now, the interesting thing is that my father-in-law was the first entrepreneur that I had a close relation to. My family was all salary earners, and here comes Eric's family, and he had this entrepreneur dad who was making a business, a self-made man. So of course I wanted to show him that I could make a business too. And I stepped up to the challenge. Now, interestingly, he was an accountant, so that means he was our accountant for our business. And the very first time that I presented a yearly earnings of $100,000 in revenue, he said, well, good luck doing that again. And then the second year when I presented the annual revenue and it was 200,000, he said, yeah, well, I don't know what you're doing, but got to be pulling the wool over someone's eyes. Not really the support I was looking for. Another 100,000, another 100,000. And then finally, when I showed him $500,000 in portrait revenue, I was expecting to get a pat on the back, but instead it was, I just don't think this is going to work out. So resistance can come at you unexpectedly. And here I was trying to win this approval and really pushing myself to show that my business could succeed, that it doesn't have to be that his son is the breadwinner in the family. I, as a woman, can make the business work too. So I said, I'm going to let his fear be my fire. Because here's the thing, guys. When people are pushing back on you, it's not because they want to hurt you. And I know that his mission was not to put me down. What it really is it's an act of protection. It's an act of preservation. People who are telling you not to do things differently, it's because they want to keep you safe. And I know that my family cares about me so much that they want to protect me and keep me well and keep me safe in their arms. And that means not doing the scary risk-taking that I'm talking about here. Now, there's a story that I don't normally tell, and I'm going to tell you guys about it here. So I was in Atlanta one day, and family is going up for a vacation. Eric gets a phone call, as normal when we're going up on vacation, and it turns out it's his mom. I heard him say, "Oh no." And I thought really nothing of it. I thought, okay, what did his brother do now? So I just sat there. But when he got off the phone, I was dying of curiosity. I'm like, what was the news? What's the oh no? And he said, turns out that my dad died. And I looked over and I was just, what is happening here? I looked to my right and my son, who wears his feelings on his sleeves, he's just bawling, crying. My daughter's being stoic as ever. Eric's crying. And the weird thing is I had 2 big thoughts that came in my mind. The first one is, why is it so damn bright in here? Because we're sitting in the middle of Atlanta airport and there's light flooding in from all sides. And how can it be so bright when we're having this complete moment of darkness and grief? And the second thing that came through my mind is that I was remembering a month prior, we were sitting together at the dinner table and I was showing my father-in-law my books, and he saw that for the first time, my business had hit $1 million in revenue. And he said just these simple measured words. He said, "It looks like you really know what you're doing." And this feeling of complete pride came over me, and I knew that I had made a business that mattered, a business that had supported my family, a business of my dreams, because I always dreamed of making $1 million in revenue. And I let that fear be my fuel. And I thought to myself, I'm so glad that I started when I did. Because here's the thing, guys, we all just have one life. And when that life passes from someone else, you realize this, and you realize how important the actions you take are to your family and your community and the clients you serve and to yourself. So when I look at the one life that I have, I thought to myself, I'm so glad that I started when I did. If I had started even 1 month later or 1 year later, I wouldn't have hit my personal goal. I wouldn't have had that moment of connection, that moment of validation with my father-in-law at the dinner table. And I'm really happy that we were able to heal our relationship and bring things to that place of closure. And I think I am worthy of more, and you are worthy of more. And whatever is your big goal, you can achieve it. But you have to know what that goal is and be willing to push past the fear and resistance and make the risks that are necessary. So when I started my business, I was doubting my own worth, and I know you guys are doubting your worth too. And what I did, this is a little tip that you can bring into your business, is that I put a picture of my kids on the back of my product guide. Inside that product guide was all the big scary prices that I feared, and all of my fear was laid out in black and white numbers. But I knew that when I opened that book, my right hand would be touching their faces. And if I couldn't do it for me because I doubted my own worth, I could do it for them. I could do it for the people I love. I could do it for the vision I had of success, and I am worthy because of that. And you know, you are worthy without the numbers too. You are worthy without the bank account. But believing in your worth can allow you to achieve so much more than you think is currently possible. You can do it, but you do it by risking big. So when it's go time, guys, when it's time to launch your business, I want to give you a plan for how to move forward into that. First of all, permission to skip the struggle. You do not have to wait until you're perfect. You do not have to shoot and burn till infinity. I changed my pricing after 1 year of being shoot and burned out, 10x'd everything on the spot, never looked back, and I've been successful ever since. You got to know your plan though. You got to make a plan, know your numbers, see that vision 3 years from now and go for it. And then gather the resources and the needed reserves. Gather the support you need in terms of money so that you have a financial safety net for yourself, but gather the support you need in terms of the people around you too. So we have support for you. I want to support you. Join our group, Rise to the Top, if you're not already in it, and come and ask all your business questions there, because we're really your cheerleaders, your supporters, and if everyone else around you is saying it's not possible, I'm your proof of concept. You can do this. I've done it. I've gone as a stay-at-home mom to a 7-figure earner. I've built the business empire of my dreams, and I know that you guys can do it too. Get yourself a coach. Get yourself the resources. Do a $5,000 debacle if you need to. Get a mastermind and a group of people around you that are going to cheer you on and show you that it's possible. Now remember, success is a choice. You have a choice today. You can keep on moving forward with the status quo, or you can take a chance to change. I invite you guys to move forward and to choose to dance. Here's me, Macarena, way back in the freshman year, and here's you taking a risk, moving forward tomorrow to the business of your dreams. Rich is ahead. Start off with your risk. You got this, guys.